Are you thinking about starting powerlifting but you're not sure where to start? This is your year, and I'm here to give you all the information you need to get started. And also, at the end of this video, we're going to give you some do's and don'ts for beginner powerlifters. Let's start off with what a beginner powerlifter is. Some markers that usually indicate that a powerlifter is a beginner are that you are training for powerlifting for less than 12 months. However, there are some cases where powerlifters train for years, but they are not pushing their training hard enough. But why should you do powerlifting in the first place? Well, I believe powerlifting is a great sport for everyone. The injury risk is very low. It's a pretty safe sport, despite of what people believe. Apart from lifting heavy weights and having a lot of fun, it can also help you build some confidence. It can also help you learn some patience. I started as a nerdy kid with no confidence. Powerlifting has definitely helped me get stronger and be more confident in myself. It has also taught me discipline that carried over to a lot of other aspects of my life. If you are still not sure if you want to start powerlifting or not, here are some good reasons. Anyone can do powerlifting. You just need a bar, some plates. At least for the beginning, you need minimal equipment and you don't need a lot of machines or any machines at all, because your main focus is to build more muscle and build more strength in the big three lifts, because that's also what basically powerlifting is: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. The weights are not boring. You're always pushing yourself. You're always trying to lift heavier weights, and that's pretty exciting. I have been powerlifting for the last 7 years, and every time I see new weights on the bar, I get really excited. So that feeling doesn't really go away, at least for me. Also, the strength you build with powerlifting can carry over to other sports, and I truly believe strength doesn't have an age limit. You can always get stronger from where you are. No matter your situation, you can always improve something. You can always get stronger at a certain something. Powerlifting has also given us the opportunity to make some great lifelong friends. You can also find some like-minded individuals like you that also want to get stronger and improve themselves. First of all, let's start off with RPE. You're probably going to need to use it at some certain point, and it's a pretty common concept. It's basically a way to rate your sets and rate the difficulty of your sets. We like to use a metric of how many reps you had still left in the tank, with some extra information sprinkled onto that. There are many ways to train. Some people like to train with percentages. Some people like to train with RPE. Some people like to do a hybrid of both, like we train our athletes. But whichever method you choose to train with, you always will focus on the squat, bench press, and deadlift. For deadlift, you can always choose between conventional and sumo. Both are allowed, no matter how much hate sumo is getting online. But that's for another video. And what you have to focus on a lot as a beginner is that you have to learn good technique. When you have great technique, you have more potential to lift more weight. We have a lot of stuff on our Instagram about technique. You can check out our Instagram at Strength Blogs. You can find many stuff we post about technique. And apart from trying to get a better technique, you also have to get stronger, because at the end of the day, that's what your performance will be rated on. It's not going to be rated on technique. Well, basically, it's going to be rated on some rules that your technique has to follow. And you can get stronger by training 3 to 4 times a week. You can also get stronger by training more or training less, but our usual recommendation is 3 to 4 times a week. No matter how much you love the gym, 3 to 4 times seems to be a great sweet spot for most people. And what you also want to do is to basically not switch up the exercises too much. So a good time frame to switch up exercises would be 2 to 3 months. But you always have to have in your plan your squat, your bench press, and your deadlift, because these are the lifts that you want to get stronger. And if you leave them out for too much time, there's a very high chance that you will get trained at the lift and you don't want to run in circles. So leaving in your squat, bench press, and deadlift, and also rotating up the other exercises like every 2 to 3 months, it's a pretty good way to go. You always have to try to get stronger at your accessory exercises and put enough effort in so that you can build more muscle and get stronger in those so that they will carry over in your main lifts. You have to use weights that are relatively challenging, but not too heavy that your technique breaks down and you also risk injury. You have to use some challenging weights that are not at your limit, and you can progress with those numbers as you go. As a beginner, you have to avoid lifting super heavy because you also lack some coordination and there's a higher risk of getting injured. And for volume, you have to pick the sweet spot of what you can recover from and how much you need to progress. As a beginner, you usually don't need a lot of volume to start with because you are more sensitive to it, you're new to the powerlifting training. So start with a little, like around 2 to 3 sets per movement or per muscle group. And if you feel that you are getting recovered but you are not progressing, maybe you have to increase the sets a little bit. It's much easier to train in the beginning and you don't need much complexity to make progress. The best thing you can do is to start light. You can always put more weight on the bar, but if the weight is too much, you have nowhere to go. And you want to progress slowly so that you can manage your training yourself and make gains for a longer time. When you can't progress anymore, you can take some weight off the bar. That's called the deload. You're going to train lighter for a week, maybe like 10 to 20% lighter, for example. Give your body time to adapt and bounce back, and then you can start progressing again, putting those 2.5 kilos to the bar, and hopefully next time you'll manage to go higher than your last fail. So your technique has to follow the rules of powerlifting, so make sure you squat to depth. For the bench press, make sure your butt and head are in contact with the bench at all times. Make sure that you are with the weight in your hands for 1 second before you start your sets. Make sure you pause for 1 second on your chest, and make sure you wait 1 second before you react after your set. And also make sure your feet stay flat on the ground. Also for the deadlift, make sure you lock out your reps and make sure you don't hitch. And in general, there should be no up and down movements during your lifts. You don't need a coach to progress, but it can really accelerate the process and it will help you avoid mistakes. And a good coach will structure your training for you, and the coach will guide you on your technique and on your training plan. And the coach can really tailor a program to your current situation and one thing that you may not be able to do correctly yourself. But if you really want to do this more seriously and become an international level athlete, maybe a world-class athlete, you will definitely need a coach, because all the best athletes in the world have a coach and nobody's training on a free program, and that's for a good reason. And you can always follow us on Instagram for free tips for powerlifting to make sure that you are avoiding common mistakes that beginner powerlifters do. First of all, there is a lot of information on the internet, especially nowadays. And the worst thing you have to do is to overanalyze and start researching a million things and watching a million videos and reading 5 million books. Just start training, don't overanalyze it. You don't need a lot of complexity to make progress as a beginner. So just pick a beginner plan and just follow the plan until the end. Don't hop between programs, especially if you're in the middle of a program. For you to know if a plan is working, you have to finish the program. So just pick a beginner program and finish it. If it didn't work, maybe try another one, but don't jump off the program in the middle and expect the results. Also, as a beginner powerlifter, I used to do it too. I would go in the gym and just do whatever and not track the weights I was doing. Just pick a notebook or on your phone and write down what you are doing so that you know that you are progressing. Just write down your weight, your reps, and your sets, and make sure that you are slowly progressing and you are not doing the same things all over and over again, because that will not make you stronger. You don't have to write everything down, but write the important stuff at least and make sure that you are doing some type of progress. Also, pretty common beginner mistake: do not test your max every week or every session. This will tire the fuck out of you. This will not make you stronger, it will just tire you out. Not only you will get injured, you won't be able to train properly or hard enough to make gains if you're tired all the time. Also, as a beginner, do not compare yourself to others. It doesn't really matter where you start. What matters is how far you will go. Don't compare your start of the journey with someone who's very, very advanced. And as a final, don't, for beginner powerlifters, and this is generally for all powerlifters, powerlifting is not an excuse to eat like shit. You want to build muscle like every other sport. You want to get stronger, and building more muscle will help you do that. Packing on fat will rarely help you in any way. So if you want to be an athlete, try to eat as an athlete. Pack on some good quality muscle and leave McDonald's for another time. Maybe every once in a while, but don't overdo it with junk food. Powerlifting is not an excuse to get fat. And having as much muscle as possible is the goal. So having very high percentages of body fat is gonna limit the amount of muscle you're gonna have in a weight class. So try to be as lean as possible, but not too lean that you are hindering performance. And finally, the do's of beginner powerlifters is to focus on building more muscle and focus on your technique. It's especially important in the beginning. The better your technique, the higher your ceiling will be, and the less time you will have to spend later to fix your technique. If you learn a technique but it's not good, you're gonna have a lot of trouble later. Try to start from the beginning to build it back up. So spend time in the beginning to build your technique up, build some more muscle, and this will help you increase your potential. Also, what you have to do is to stick to a plan and be consistent. Just follow the program and trust the process. It's really important, and don't program hop. Also, train for some time and maybe find a meet to compete in. Your first meet will purely be for experience and having fun, and have your lifts rated by official judges under competition standards. Find a good time where you don't have a lot of stress in your life and just sign up for a meet. There is no point delaying this. Once you have your technique down and you are following the powerlifting rules, just hop in on a meet and have fun. You don't have to delay it, just hop on, have fun, and officially become a powerlifter. As a powerlifter, you have to train with structure, and especially as a beginner powerlifter, you have to lift to standards. Make sure all your lifts are up to standards. Squat to depth, pause your bench press, don't hit your deadlifts. Because if you are cheating your lifts to lift more weight, you are only cheating yourself. And when the time comes that you will do those lifts in competition, you will have a very hard reality check. And as a final note, powerlifting programs and powerlifting coaching are not magic. You have to pay attention to your recovery. Make sure you sleep 7 to 9 hours per night and sleep at around the same time so that you have a stable sleep schedule. Eat around 1.6 to 2.0 grams of protein per kilo body weight. And many people don't pay attention to this, but manage your stress and your downtime, meaning party around all the time, just spend time at home and make sure you rest because it's a really important aspect of it. And that's basically the things that you have to pay attention to as a beginner powerlifter. Pay attention to your technique, follow a program, pay attention to your recovery, and make sure you are progressing and you are putting enough effort in your lifts. This is basically everything you need. As a beginner powerlifter, don't stress it too much, don't overcomplicate it. If this video has cleared things up for you, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And also, if you want to make progress faster, make sure you check us out at strengthblocks.com. We coach athletes of all levels, and we can definitely help you get stronger.